You guys, Erin here, back with another moon update for you. And I will also be discussing some of the other prominent astrological forces we are currently receiving. My goodness, we have got a lot of retrogrades going on. But let's start by talking about this full moon we've got coming up just around the corner here. This is on Saturday, September 10th at 2:59 a.m. Pacific time, and it takes place in the sign of Pisces, 17 degrees Pisces. So for those of you who are new to my recordings, what this means is this is the peak of a lunar growth cycle that began approximately 6 months ago when we had a new moon in the sign of Pisces. Over these 6 months, we've all been experiencing this tendency, probabilities, or even just opportunities to develop the Piscean qualities, to grow in the Piscean way. And as soon as this full moon starts to wane, like if it's 2:59 in the morning that it peaks here in a Pacific time zone, then at 3 o'clock in the morning, it starts to wane. And that is then the time that we start to let go of any of this Piscean energy that we picked up that is not serving us, that we want to let go of. We can let go of that energy as soon as after this full moon peaks. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so we all experience this as a collective. We all experience this opportunity for this very mystical, spiritual Piscean growth. I'll go further into that in just a minute here. But I also want people to realize that this is also very unique to each and every one of us. And so much of this depends on your own natal chart. It really depends on where the sign of Pisces comes through your natal chart. Which house does the sign of Pisces come through? If you're using Placidus, you'd want to see where 17 degrees Pisces is coming through your natal chart. You want to read about the energy of that house that Piscean energy comes through, so that you can finely tune what it is you're trying to manifest, and you can finely tune this moon magic that we love working with. I know that for myself, it's been a game changer. And I know for so many of you, so many of my clients, so many of my loved ones, this has really been something that has just opened up so many doors, so many opportunities by working with the flow of the moon. Okay, so this sign of Pisces, again, this is the very mystical energy. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. It's said to be very unearthly. In fact, some astrologers even suggest that the sign of Pisces carries all the energy of all the signs before it, but yet it's detached from Earth. It's ruled by Jupiter and Neptune. In ancient astrology, it's ruled by Jupiter. In modern astrology, it's ruled by Neptune. Personally, I feel very strongly that it's ruled by both. It just makes so much more sense when we include Jupiter and Neptune as Pisces rulers. Jupiter's all about faith and abundance and wisdom and philosophy, whereas Neptune is very dreamy. Neptune is what brings this mysticism. Neptune rules over our dreams. It's a very subconscious type of energy. You can rule over altered states of consciousness. And when we take that Jupiterian and Neptunian energy and put them together, that pretty much just describes the sign of Pisces perfectly, in my very strong opinion. Okay, now Pisces is represented by two fish that are tied together. The reason that they're tied together is because one is in the spirit realm swimming around, and the other is in the physical. And the one in the physical is like, whoa, 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 you can't swim away yet. We're having this very physical experience with responsibilities to take care of. And that makes a lot of sense. Pisces rules the feet. It's also said to have 1 foot in the spirit realm and 1 foot in the physical. Okay, Pisces can have this very strong tendency to kind of go off into dreamland. It can be very difficult for Pisces energy to stay focused. It can be very difficult for Pisces energy to stay on track. It's the mutable earth sign. By mutable, I mean this energy does very, very well with change. It's very adaptable. But with that, it can also be hard to stay on one track. You know, going back to the being represented by the fish, it's like the fish that sees something shiny over here. Ooh, I want to swim over to this shiny thing. But then all of a sudden there's something even more shiny over here. Ooh, I got to swim over here. And there's all these shiny things to focus on for this sign of Pisces. And the water element brings in the emotions. The sign of Pisces is very much recognized for having strong emotions. People with a lot of Piscean energy in their chart may need, their own little private space to go shut the door and cry for a little while. And that's healthy for the sign of Pisces. As long as it's not getting too carried away and too dramatic, it's okay. In fact, it's very well suggested that the sign of Pisces gets in touch with the feelings and actually feels all the feels. And with that, all the water signs, really, Scorpio, Cancer, and Pisces, are all said to have really strong intuitions, very psychic type of energy coming through, because it's all based on feelings and, feeling the emotions of others. It's another thing. Pisces is so easily influenced by its surroundings because it's all based on the feelings. It's this very changeable water energy. So how have you grown in these ways? If you look back over the last 6 months, has your intuition developed? Have you become more in touch with your feelings? Have you been on this grand spiritual journey? I know so many of you are. We've also got Neptune going to the sign of Pisces. It's a very long transit, but it's definitely creating some very strong, prominent spiritual awakenings for so many people. Now, on that note, as I mentioned, once the moon starts to wane, then we can start to let go of some of maybe this Pisces energy that we've taken on that's not serving us. Sign of Pisces can have a strong tendency for escapism because it is all based on feelings, and sometimes the feelings are not so fun, and there can be this tendency to even use substances for altered states of consciousness. What I'm certainly not opposed to that if you're doing it in a healthy way, but this can lead into addiction. So that's something else to be mindful of. If you picked up any of these, needing to escape, that type of thing, time to let that stuff go. As soon as this full moon starts to wane, we're offered celestial energy that will provide more ease for that type of shift in our life. Okay, so I hope that all made sense. Let me go ahead and share the screen with you guys and talk about some of these things that are going on up in the heavens. So for starters, those of you who are new to my recordings, what I work with is geocentric Western astrology. So with that said, Earth is right here in the middle of this thing, and this is basically a snapshot of the tropical zodiac at the time of this full moon. Okay, so here is the moon. The symbol for the moon is right here. Here's the symbol for the sign of Pisces. We can see it comes through at 17 degrees Pisces. Now, this is what I'm talking about. If you want to look into your own natal chart, if you want to try and figure out what area of your life this manifests for you specifically, you'd want to pull up your natal chart. There's so many ways to look up your free natal chart online. Just do any sort of internet search for free natal chart calculation. And you should be able to, as long as you know what time you were born, or at least close to it, you need your birth date, time, and location. And then you pull up a chart, and you're going to want to look to see where this symbol is right here. This is the symbol for Pisces. Which slice of pie does that come through in your chart? These are the houses, and they represent areas of our life where things manifest. So depending, like if this comes through your third house, then this would probably have something to do with communication for you. If it's coming through your 10th house, it very well could be something about your career or your status, something being recognized in the public. If you're a Pisces rising, this is coming through your house of self, and this is a big time to be, really honoring your growth, and so on and so forth. Your fifth house, it may be something about what you've created. So if you'd like to schedule an astrology reading, and you always get the recording, and you can always go back and see where any of these new moons or full moons manifest. If you get the reading with me. Okay, so anywho, 17 degrees Pisces. This puts us in something called the second decan of the Piscean season, okay, which actually gives it a little twist of Cancerian energy too, meaning the sign of Cancer, which this is very much about emotions and feelings, okay? Now, also something to mention here, this right here is Neptune. As I mentioned, Neptune is also going through the sign of Pisces. Now, Neptune moves very, very slowly. I can't remember exactly how much longer it's in there. I think it's 2026 or something like that. But Neptune is the ruler of mysticism and spirituality, and rules over our dreams, and rules over altered states of consciousness. And he's in his own home of Pisces. So this is very prominent energy that we're all receiving. So many people are having these very wild spiritual awakenings. And I do think that Neptune going through Pisces is playing a big role in that. And it's probably affecting something very specific in your chart. But this is also something to mention here. This energy is so spiritual and so dreamy that there can be a strong tendency for delusions, a lot of sort of, delusional energy out there. It's so important that we be very careful about where we're getting our information from. This energy has a lot to do with magic, and there is a lot of magic going around and a lot of false information going around, and that, you know, puts people in a diluted state. And now this is a time where that can be enhanced with this full moon. So just be mindful of that. Just be careful of that. This is also a little random, but I would also be careful about driving, or just what you're doing on the day. I'd say even September 9th and 10th, just be a little bit mindful, because people may be in a very dreamy state around this time. Okay. Now, over here, we see here's the sun. We can see the sun is the opposite side of the opposite side as the moon of the zodiac, because that's what happens every time we have a full moon. The sun and moon are at opposite sides of the zodiac. The moon is the mother, the sun is the father, and they're opposite sides, kind of embracing each other, you know, looking at each other, honoring this growth. But the sun going through Virgo, I love this energy personally. This is the very end of summer. I'm always so sad to see summer leave, because I just love the sun. But this Virgo energy, this also has a lot to do with harvesting. My garden has been going nuts. I harvested 22 spaghetti squash out of one plant yesterday. That's harvest season, this Virgoan energy. The Virgo energy is also mutable. It's adapting us into a change of the seasons. Next up is going to be Libra season, and that's the equinox. We can change complete seasons, but that's what the Virgoan energy prepares us for. It's very, very adaptable. Now, hallelujah for this earth energy coming through the sun in Virgo. Virgo is an earth sign. Now, all the signs are either earth, air, water, or fire. Okay. And it just so happens that right now, Taurus and Capricorn, two earth signs, are getting really rattled. They're not receiving the grounded type of energy that they like to. Understand that the earth signs are grounded. They're very practical. Okay. But Taurus and Capricorn, they're not grounded right now. They're just being shaken around. So Virgo, the other earth sign, hallelujah, the sun is like beaming through this earth energy, giving people a little more stability, because things have been very unstable regarding the earth signs. Okay. Now, Venus is also going to be going through Virgo. Now, this is an interesting placement. Venus doesn't get to behave the way she likes to in the sign of Virgo, because Venus is so romantic and so sensual. And the sign of Virgo isn't necessarily, that's not any real key qualities that come with the sign of Virgo. Virgo is more about paying attention to detail and being analytical and using the mind and being very organized, that type of thing. So this could be, again, so much of this depends on your own natal chart, but this also could be affecting, you know, what it is you're attracted to. This could be definitely influencing for some people, especially since we just have that new moon in Virgo. This could be influencing an energy of needing to be organized. It's a really, really good time to get your house organized, your desk organized, your car clean, that type of thing, while we've got the sun and Venus beaming through Virgo. Okay, now let's talk about some of these retrogrades, because this is really prominent. We, at the time of this full moon, in fact, Mercury goes retrograde, I think, on the day of the full moon, if not, then the day before. So we're going to have, at the time of this full moon, we're going to have Mercury in retrograde. We're going to have Pluto in retrograde, Saturn in retrograde, Neptune in retrograde, Jupiter in retrograde, Chiron in retrograde, Uranus in retrograde. And the nodes in retrograde, but they're almost always in retrograde. So those don't necessarily really count. But this is a lot of retrograde energy. Now, with that said, anything when it's in retrograde, it kind of works like an extra force. It's got a really strong energy that's coming through. And especially Mercury, because he will have just hit that point. Mercury is moving comfortably forward motion to the sign of Libra, and then right before this full moon puts on the brakes. And when that happens, the energy becomes very strong. Mercury's energy will be extremely strong. Mercury rules our consciousness. Mercury rules our communication skills, has a huge influence on that as well, but it has a lot to do with what we're focused on. Mercury is the organizer in our mind, and all of a sudden he's putting on the brakes to go retrograde. And it's almost like it makes it harder for Mercury to keep us organized and to keep us focused. Now, and that goes with all of these retrogrades. Jupiter in retrograde, Jupiter is going through the sign of Aries. Jupiter is the great benefic. Okay. Jupiter is the one who brings us luck and abundance and wisdom and faith. Jupiter, all these, there's pros and cons to all these things. I don't mean to necessarily make it sound like Jupiter never does anything. That Jupiter can actually make people gain weight, all kinds of things. But regardless, because he's big, Jupiter's the big expander. But regardless, he's going through the sign of Aries right now. Aries is the cardinal hot fire sign, and Jupiter is just burning up through the sign, the warrior Aries. So we've got the great benefic. If you could just picture this, the great benefic of abundance is driving backwards through the sign that can be represented with war. Okay. And I'm not necessarily suggesting at all that there's going to be some major war breaking out. I mean, obviously we know what is going on in the world. I don't need to go into detail on that, but regardless, this Jupiter's kind of struggling and he's kind of ferocious right now. And not only that, but Jupiter has a huge influence on our liver and our livers, all of our livers can be very, very sensitive right now because of this placement. Not only that, but Virgo rules the liver too. And we've got Venus and Sun shining through there. So be mindful of what you're putting in your body. But regardless, all these things, they're driving backwards. They're working with this extreme force. Think about it. When you're driving your car backwards, are you driving as, gracefully as when you're driving forward? No, it works very similarly with all these guys. However, the qualities of this, the good thing to focus on is that it does give us this opportunity to reevaluate what it is we're doing, whatever it is you're creating, whatever it is you're trying to move forward with. Things might be brakes might be put on a little bit, especially with Saturn here in retrograde, making a very strong square up here to Uranus. That's going to be going on for a while. Let me put this out there real quick. All of these humanitarian groups, so I love so much. I love the people who are doing things for the people helping people. This energy is a little anti-establishment, and I personally really enjoy that. But there's something that's restricting that energy right now. I'm, watching all these humanitarian groups helping each other get organized and that sort of thing. It's almost like the brakes are being put on. So think of this as a time to reevaluate. It doesn't necessarily just have to be applied to humanitarian groups. This is for everybody. What is it you're trying to move forward with? Maybe it's time to take a little step back, look at the big picture, which can be difficult when we've got this Virgo energy going on. Virgo wants us to zone in on the details, but it's a really good time to take a step back and look at the whole picture, look at everything and reevaluate, what it is you want to move forward with. Not only that, but Mars here, let me touch on this for a minute. Mars is what gives us our physical drive. Mars he's aggressive and dominant, but he rules our sex drive, but he also just rules our physical drive to go do what we got to do. Oh, we got to go do that. Boom. Here comes Mars to put it into action. Well, Mars is going to the sign of Gemini right now, which Gemini is this sign of duality that will kind of want to go this direction and this direction at the same time. So we've got Mars there a little frustrated and can't be as direct as he wants to be. And then we're going to have Mars go retrograde. Mars is going to be in the sign of Gemini all the way till the end of next year, which is literally like unheard of. I shouldn't say unheard of, but that's a long time for Mars to stay in one zodiac sign. So over these, really all the way until March of next year, think about that. When you are trying to move forward with whatever it is you're doing, we're being influenced with this thing that's like, wait, no, this way. Wait, no, this way. Oh, both at the same time. Let's go both directions at the same time. That's very Mars and Gemini type of energy. Okay, let's see here. Did I cover? I could just go on and on and on, but I don't want to make any of these recordings too long because I don't want to bore anybody. I also don't want to overwhelm anybody. You can always schedule an astrology reading if you want to learn more, either just about your own chart or about what's going on in the world astrologically. Okay, now something else to mention here. The parts of the body that are Pisces rules it's the feet. Pisces rules the feet. all of our feet may be feeling very sensitive around the time of this full moon, but Pisces also rules over the lymphatic system. Okay, so be mindful of our lymphatic systems especially, I mean, really anytime the moon transits through the sign of Pisces, but when it's a full moon in Pisces, pay attention to that. It might be really good to do some sort of yoga poses to get the lymph flowing comfortably, that sort of thing. And not only that, but the duality or the polarity between Pisces and Virgo, they're opposite each other, really rules the entire immune system. The entire immune system is going to be sensitive at the time of this full moon. So be mindful of that, take care of our bodies. And then some stones, I think I mentioned this earlier, when it comes to my full moon ceremony or my new moon ceremony, I go outside, I have my feet touching the earth, and I write in my journal, and I like to have stones with me that resonate well with the sun, the zodiac sign that the moon is transiting through. Like Pisces' dedicated zodiacal birthstone is aquamarine. But I also like to have, aquamarine is protective in one sense, but aquamarine, I get a piece right here. Aquamarine is really good for protection when you're traveling overseas, okay? But not necessarily against unwanted forces, like unseen forces that are not serving us. Aquamarine is not the greatest protector for that. Personally, when it comes to especially full moon in Pisces, shungite. Shungite is actually very much associated with the sign of Scorpio, but this does something called trine. Scorpio and Pisces, they trine each other. And that said, this is a very harmonious connection with the Piscean energy. So I would be having my aquamarine and my piece of shungite. Now, another thing to mention here is that not every stone is good for every body. So what I always do, unless I am absolutely 100% sure that the stones that I'm using are good for my body, my vessel, and this is something else we can also go through if you schedule an astrology reading, it's medical astrology really, some of these stones may not be good for you to be wearing on your body. So I always take the stones and I put them on top of my journal so that the words that I'm writing out, the spells that I am casting, are making that harmonious resonance, that connection to those lights in the sky, to the moon. So there's that as well. Now, not everybody's got shungite, not everybody's got aquamarine. Another one to mention here, this right here is something called fluorite. It's my little fluorite skull. It's such a beautiful stone, but it's also very dreamy, super dreamy stone. Okay, so if you're already super dreamy, you might not be walking around with a piece of fluorite. But again, you could just put it on top of your journal. A lot of people, fluorite's super affordable. A lot of people have fluorite. A lot of people have fluorite and they don't even know they have fluorite because it's such a common stone. One more thing to mention here. Now, what I'm showing you here, this is something called Herkimer diamonds. They are not real diamonds. They're actually quartz, and I can't remember what else is in there, but regardless, they're called Herkimer diamonds because when the miners found them in Herkimer, New York, they thought they were diamonds because they're so sparkly. Now, these are not necessarily particular to or specific to the sign of Pisces. They're actually usually more associated with the sign of Sagittarius. But going back to that Pisces intuition, those stones, those Herkimer diamonds, especially if you just hold like 3 of them in your hand, can definitely enhance the intuition. So if that's something you want to be working on, if you want to be working on your intuition, I do suggest Herkimer diamonds. And these let me just show you one more thing about these stones. I've been working with these stones for so long. Let's see if I can get the camera to pick these up. I don't know if it will. No, but there's these little black dots, and I wish I could remember what they're called. It's some mineral that's in the middle of the stone that actually is very protective. So even though generally speaking, the clear crystal quartz is not protected. It can be cleansing, it could be detoxifying, but not super protective from, say, things like electromagnetic fields or some, weird entities that you don't want around you. If anything, this might amplify that. But the Herkimer diamonds actually do serve a little protection from that type of thing. I wouldn't necessarily recommend keeping them in your pocket, keeping the Herkimer diamonds in your pocket with your phone, because that can amplify the EMF, the dangers of the EMF coming off your phone, that sort of thing. But if you're just sitting there trying to meditate and heighten your intuition, Herkimer diamonds are definitely my #1 suggestion for that. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that. So again, if you'd like to schedule a reading, then please just visit my website, erinwageastrology.com. You can schedule straight through my website. If you're on a device, on a phone or tablet, there's 3 little bars at the top of the screen. It's a menu, and you click on that, then it'll drop down, will show up saying book online, and you click there, and then my calendar will pop up for you. And again, it's the easiest way to go about it. If you don't find anything that's convenient for you on my calendar, then please just do send me an email at erinwageastrology@gmail.com. But I'm just going to put this out there. There has been some experiences in the past where I've missed people's messages because I try not to be on my devices. I'm already in front of the screen enough as it is with my career. So I try to avoid, any just random messages that may not be, just could be spam or whatever. So I do have a tendency to miss some messages. It's way easier if you just schedule straight through my website, and that way every device that I own will go off and give me the notification that you've scheduled a reading. So we'll be in contact right away. Okay, you guys, I do hope to hear from some of you. And until next time, namaste to all of you.